Well, the Red Arrow was started by my father, and I guess it's going to be almost 100 years ago. So growing up, the Red Arrow was the place in town. There were 4 restaurants. There were 4 Red Arrows. There was this one, which was the original one on Lowell Street, and then there was a big one on Elm Street, which had a big kitchen and would cook food for all the other 3 restaurants. There was one on Merrimack Street and one on Lake Avenue, and those were the 4. And that happened all during World War II and then into the 1950s. And then finally, there were 2 major fires at the Elm Street one. After the first one, he rebuilt and turned it into a cafeteria. First time there'd ever been a cafeteria in New Hampshire, certainly. And then when that had a fire, a number of years later, he closed that place down and opened up another place out on the highway. Then when he got older, they closed all 3 and kept this one open until he died. And then after he died, my sister and I sold this restaurant. And now Carol owns it, and it's still going strong, and we're very proud of it. I love this menu because it is all the kinds of things that I love to eat and I grew up with. But what I love the most is the prices. I mean, 50 cents for fried clams and tartar sauce. How about that? You know, my dad wasn't a restaurateur to begin with. He came to Manchester from Canada when he was 12 years old. There were no child labor laws in those days, so he was able to get a job in the mills, even though he was only 12. Then when he got old enough to box, he was a pretty tough guy, and he became a professional fighter under the name of Kid Davies. But then he made money boxing, and he took that money and bought this restaurant, this one here. You know, Lobster Newburg. There were interesting things on the menu, and yet there were just everyday things. And every day there was a certain meal that was offered. I mean, on Thursdays, I remember it was New England boiled dinner. And so that would all be made at the Elm Street restaurant, and then we would deliver the boiled dinners to the different 3 restaurants. And people would know, they came in on Thursday, I got the boiled dinner. They came in on Friday, it was, you know, ham and beans or fish or whatever. And then, of course, if you didn't want the special of the day, you picked something else. But good, basic, quality food. And Dad always believed that if you give people good quality and good service, you're going to get business. And so he did. Wherever I've traveled around the world, and I've done a lot of traveling, I always bump into people, if they've come to Manchester, they know the Red Arrow. And there have been some very, very wonderful, warming stories, as well as very funny stories about their experiences here at the Red Arrow. So it is a very large part of my life.